Sync. Welcome. I hope everyone's doing great in these very weird times. I have never stayed indoors for this much of an extended period of time, and it's definitely getting to me. That is why I'm making a YouTube video. I've been wanting to do something for a while. I don't know what to do. So I thought maybe we'd try a music review. That was fucking bars right there. Anyways, this is the first time I've done this. So bear with me as we try and get through this. But we're going to be reviewing the new Yves Tumor record, Heaven to a Tortured Mind. I've been looking forward to this since its, announcement a few months back, because I recently found out about Yves Tumor towards the end of 2019, and everything I've heard from him, I really enjoyed. He's one of the main artists I've been listening to right now, out of I don't know how many, but he's held my attention long enough to keep me really excited for this shit. And was it worth the wait? Oh boy, was it. Yves Tumor can only be described, at least his music, as genre pushing and genre meshing. But there's no one thing you can put on this. Is it psych rock? Is it jazz punk? I don't know. Listen to it. Figure it out yourself. It's just so many things at once, and it all meshes so perfectly. But just everything about the shit I love. From the instrumentals, to the funky beats, to all the fucking bass lines throughout, through the lyrics and the story it's trying to tell, which is probably my favorite part of this, with how well it's done. So without further ado, let's get into this. And from the first track, we start to figure out the story that's going to be unfolding here. Throughout this, Yves seems to have found this man, or potentially woman, but I'm pretty sure it's a male, that he just seems to be totally enthralled with and will do anything to get. From the first track, we see him telling this person that he'll do anything he wants him to. And even when this person is already skeptical, he instantly is don't I just take it lightly. I'm like this. I promise I'll be good. Blah blah blah. So he just wants this dude really bad. And then we get to the first new track of the song, Medicine Burn. And this song, we see Yves admitting to this person that he's terrified of being left by himself, and that he has nothing to be afraid of except just the wildness of his life in his own mind. But he also talks about this person and describes him in a way that only a monster could be. Crimson stained teeth, 600 teeth, severed heads that he has collected. He just doesn't sound like a very good person, or a very safe person to be around. But he wants this guy. Instrumentally, the song starts as just this few little drum beats, and instantly just this loud, in-your-ear looping electric guitar riff that just carries throughout the song, and it's fucking great. It sounds awesome. And much like many of the other songs, it also is carried throughout, beat-wise, by some drums and a sexy-ass bass line, which you're going to hear a lot. The shit is just straight-up bass line porn, and I'm so into it. It just feels like you're being encaptured in just this wave of instruments, and you're just being held here, and you just can't leave it. Which kind of, reflects the message of this, which I figured out, or when listening to this a few times over, which I've listened to this probably 10 times already, a lot of the instrumentals kind of portray the message of the song that's trying to come across, which I know isn't never been done before by anything, but it's done very well in this project specifically. And then we get to the third song, Identity Trade, which instrumentally is decently similar to Medicine Burn, but definitely has its own twist on things. It's a rather short track. It starts with just a repeating guitar loop for a little bit, and then in the middle it transitions into this louder, but also almost softer at the same time, instrumental. The only lyrics in the album that I couldn't really get a grasp on what they meant, from what I gathered, he's telling this person that he's dangerous, but he's very beneficial to his partners, but he's definitely dangerous, and it seems to be his last partner wanted to get out of it and possibly even killed themselves through it. It doesn't give you a whole lot to play with here, but a great track nonetheless. And then right after that, we get to another one of the singles, Kerosene. It just starts off as this extremely dreamy, almost alluring instrumental of guitar and bass that's just so pleasant to the ear. And here he talks about he can do absolutely anything for this dude. He can be whatever he wants him to be. He can get him anything. And by the end of it, he boils down to just with this huge bass drop of just booming guitars, screaming how he needs this person to let kerosene. For those of you who don't know, is like a fuel for like lamps. Sounds stupid, but it fits because he's like he needs this person to light him back up and to help him through whatever he's getting through and be that light for him. And then we get to one of the definitely weirder tracks in the album, which is Hasdell and Lights, where it seems to be we actually hear from this other person he's interested in. Because he seems to be asking, like, what do you need? What are you missing? What are you looking for? And we hear that he mentions this girl, that her song, and then he just keeps asking these questions until he seems he's pressured to be like, oh, I need you. It's interesting how it starts to unfold throughout here. Instrumentally, it's just this very, like, flowy, soft song. It's got a more jazzy-ish tone to it, and towards the end of it, we get carried out by some just absolutely beautiful synths. I'm a synth guy, dude. Like, that shit hits me deep. I love it. And then we get to the next two tracks that were also released as singles just a few days prior to the album's release, which, just as a side note, I hate when artists share a third of their album before it's out, but that's whatever. We get to Romanticist. This track has some very distorted vocals throughout, some crazy synths and guitars like every other song, but in its own more chaotic way. Sonically, this is a very short song, with some very interesting distorted vocals that he doesn't seem to throw out much throughout this album, but he definitely does here. It's got some more jazzy flow to it, some more electric flow. It's great. I don't have much to say about this one. It's not bad by any means, but it's just sonically, there's not much to it. But also in this song is when the tone starts to shift. We start to see that this person seems to be a little bit crazy, as he seems to be referring to his mind as a colorful maze with how complicated and crazy this man is. He seems to be referencing getting abused by this man, but he still wants him. It's still a lot of similar lyrics discussing, like, oh my gosh, I just want you. I'll do anything for you as long as you stay with me. One of the things I like most about this album, I think, is how it just swaps like tones just from left to right super quickly, but in such like it never feels wrong. It feels like it just represents the random flick of a switch a bad relationship can be, and how just on the flip of a switch, just things can go wrong. Another main part of this, real quickly, I forgot to add this, is that we figure out that this guy he's into wants someone else who seems to be a girl, and he has to try and compete with this person, or even partake in a polygamous relationship and like try and be okay with this, which he seems to not be, but he's doing it anyways because of just how enthralled he is with this guy. This next song transitions perfectly from the previous, with just this literal explosion of instruments that has all sorts of different like samples, guitars, drums, fireworks, voices. It's so much going on, but it sounds great. And then we start to see Yves being a little more like, what's the word? A little woke on this relationship, and sees how like toxic it's really starting to become. I was saying it feels forced. You deserve better than this. Like, why does this have to be kept a secret as well? He's very clearly starting to realize that there's some problems here, which then transitions into the next song. I got a list over here for some notes because I'm shitty at this type of thing. We transition into the next song, Superstar, which is by far my favorite track on the whole thing. The song seems to be almost like an argument between the two, as he mentions things like, tell me you love me. I'm not going to love this other woman in this relationship. I need you to know that, like, I'm your one. I'll still do anything you want me to, but you got to tell me that, like, I'm your bitch. Like, we're together, not this other person. But it also starts with these just fun vocals, which I think represents the reality, like the drama of this situation. It's like a reflection of, to try and make it sound better, which is start with this beautiful intro where he's like, you. It's just, oh, I love it. There's so much about this album that I love vocally as well. He definitely shines with his vocal performances and just wants to show off how many different things he can do. And it's just such a pleasure to listen through him trying out all these different ways of singing. It's got some fun instruments too. It's got some cool electric guitar as usual. Another sexy bass line. But it's definitely the vocals here that shine through and give this song its character. Then we got the next song. I'm gonna butcher this, but Folie Imposée. I don't know if that's French. If that's I don't know what that shit is. Don't bully me. But this is definitely the weirdest thing on this. It just feels like you're in the void or the mind of someone that is just not in a very good place, and all these voices are talking to you at once. They're jumbled. There's kind of random words throughout almost. It just feels like an episode that you're having, or this person's having, which reflects the name of the song, which I'm not going to say it again because I don't want to butcher it again. But basically what that word means, or words mean, is like when someone in a relationship, more often the dominant partner, has, for example, schizophrenia. That person's schizophrenic episode will also someone be experienced by the other partner just because of that relationship they have. I don't know how it works, but the song portrays that shit so well. It's crazy. Let me get to my least favorite song on this whole thing. It's by no means bad, but just in comparison to all the other crazy masterpieces on this, it just seems the most dry to me. It's just this very easy, dreamy, like, I don't know, it's like a sex song, but it also feels like a Christmas sex song. It's weird. It doesn't capture this weird, like, beauty, and the only way I can describe it is like a winter wonderland that you don't really want to be in. Like it's like a dream and you're in snow, but there's still something wrong. Vocally, we we really see him just done with this. How he's realizing that this guy only wants him for his fame, only because he's a superstar. He realizes that he only comes to check on him just to make sure that he still keeps this guy around to keep the fame. Even there's even people in his life telling him to figure this out. It, he's not doing this for much longer, basically. And then we get to a pure instrumental track, Asteroid Blues, which is just this. Once again, just some bassline porn with some cool ass instruments throughout. It feels like you're just going through space and it's just crumbling around you, and you just gotta get out of there. Which once again, I feel like has some representation throughout the story. I think this is the breaking point where he's just like, I'm done at this shit. It's over. I can't be in this anymore. I'm going insane. Everything's just crumbling. And then we get to the last song where he finally puts his foot down. This is where he confronts this other guy, saying, "You've made me feel alive the way you kiss me. You do something to me, but it's not good. You're like thunder. It's a crazy experience to get hit by it, but it's not good." And he ends it off with saying, "I'm tired, and I'm done with this," which I think is a good end to the story. I was Throughout it, I thought this was going to go somewhere else. I thought we were going to get something darker. But he seems to just call it off. Instrumentally, the song is very relaxing. It's just got these little bass lines throughout, bit of synths, bit of jazz to it, but in just this very small condensed instrumental that is, it's not condensed, but it feels like it. It's just this very relaxing like ending, which I think fits pretty well for this. Overall, this is easily my favorite album this year. I'm not sure what else there is to look forward to that could top it. I know Kendrick's probably dropping this year. Cudi might be. So we'll have to see with that. But as it stands now, this is my shit, and I can't stop listening to it. It encaptures a story both lyrically and instrumentally so well. It's by no means the most creative like topic ever thought about, but it's done in a very creative, just very talented way. And just all the mood shifts throughout, both sonically and vocally, how it just can go from one to another super easily. The range of experimental instrumentals that he throws in here. He even tries to experiment with his vocals, and it's just him trying these new things while also keeping his primary sound that I think he's finally found. And it all works so well, and I love this shit. The only gripe I may have is there are some, I don't know, repeating sounds throughout. It took a while to think about it. I couldn't think of the right word. But this shit's great. Go give it a listen. After a lot of listens, I wanted to give this a 10, but I know I can't. So this thing is for sure a 9 from me. And I hope everyone gives it a listen and give me some feedback in the comments what you think of this, if you liked this. I think I want to try doing more of these if I find albums I'm interested in. I have no interest in talking about things that are just boring to me. I think the fun I got out of making this or doing this was looking into the lyrics, trying to come up with my own story, which it'll be interesting to see what everyone else kind of thinks of this. Hope you all have a great day, and thank you for watching.